Hey, what's going on, everyone? We've got a lot of exciting stuff to go over in the primetime news this week. We've got the eBay spring seller update. We've got some primetime crime updates. We've got some inspirational stories for you as well. But first, we have to talk about Lululemon taking on resellers and other companies
Right.
doing the same thing as well. All right, so later this month, Lululemon will launch a trade in and resale program for gently used leggings, tops, and jackets. And so, the way it's supposed to work in this new program is you bring in these gently used items and you could then exchange it for a gift card, or there's going to be a section on the website, which here's the website right here. This like new section. So, you just click on that and you could redeem your credit there. And obviously, that's smart for Lululemon because it keeps people with the brand. So they're not selling it somewhere else like Poshmark or ThredUp or eBay. And then they just lose all access of the proceeds of the sale and the item. Here, they get to retain it. So it's smart from their perspective. Like if you look right here on eBay, there are about 46,000 plus listings right now just for the Lululemon leggings. And it has about a 50% sell through rate. If you look there, that's just looking at solds, 23,770 solds. And that's in the last 90 days or so. So it is popular for the fellas watching who might not be as familiar. It is mostly, at least in my experience, and people comment down below, let me know what yours is, but, my experience, it's mostly associated with women's wear, but they do have a men's, side of the clothing line. Now, the leggings are of particular importance, if you are a man or a woman outsourcing. There are certain leggings that are very popular, that they're not making anymore and that people want, and so those could go for some good money. Now, just so you know, if you're interested in this, they are not allowing people to trade in underwear or socks or anything like that, which is interesting because eBay has the same policy. You cannot sell used underwear or socks on there. But if you look at leggings, there are similarities to underwear and to socks. I mean, they are very tight fitting. And don't tell me that every single person who wears Lululemon leggings is wearing underwear underneath them. Probably not. Now I know the same could go for other clothing as well, but this is really, really tight fitting clothing. People exercise in it, which again is why they say gently used is what they're going to accept. That's why they call the program like new. They don't want people getting really skeeved out or anything like that. But if that's the case and you can clearly sell this stuff on eBay, I would make an argument that they should allow people to at least sell gently used socks, like a nice thick pair of like, collectible socks or something like that with like a sports team on it. Someone only wore them once. So yeah, if the socks are like new, then I think people should be able to have the option to resell them if they could sell things like leggings. So let me know what you think about that down below in the comments. And now let's go and see what some other stores are doing to fight back against resellers. So you've heard me talk many times on this channel about shopgoodwill.com. This is a site where you can go and source items in bulk in an auction format, and you could get some great deals as a reseller. Now, it's becoming more and more difficult to do that as more and more people become aware of it, but there still are some good opportunities there. Now, this site has really helped the regular Goodwill business make much more money because what they did is they took items that otherwise were going to sell for very low dollar amounts in the regular Goodwill stores and just realize a much higher price for them in general. But again, these are mostly auctions and things that are being sold off in bulk. But what if Goodwill could find these individual items in the lots or just an individual item in the store and put that somewhere where people would pay a high dollar amount just for that one item? Well, that's what their next newest website is all about, which is called Reclaimed Fashion. And so if you go on this site, what you're going to see are individual items in the fashion industry broken down by women, men, kids, jewelry, and accessories. And they do offer some bundles. But as a good example, if they came across this, if an employee came across this Minnie Mouse shirt, in the thrift store, they are going to pull this off and they are going to put it on the Reclaim Fashion site so they could charge $65.95 for it. And you are not going to be able to get it for $3 or $4 and sell it yourself on eBay for 65.95 or Poshmark or something like that. So, it makes sense. I'm not blaming them for it. I mean, that just, their business. They're trying to, get more money out of their item. So, here's another example. Here's this blouse, they're going to charge 55 bucks for it and they're not going to sell it for a few bucks in the store. So, at the end of the day, for me, again, I don't source at Goodwills, but I know there are a lot of people out there who do. So it's going to make things more challenging. It's going to make things more competitive, and it's going to force people to look outside of thrift stores and just try to expand the types of areas where you source. All right, now Target is not going to sit back. They are taking on the reselling community by jumping into another collaborative effort with the online thrift store ThredUp. Now, they tried this once before in the past, but it did not work out, probably because they were very early on in the game. But Target sees what's going on, and the estimate is that the amount of money that's going to be made just through resale and these sustainability initiatives is just going to continue to skyrocket all the way at least through 2025 and probably beyond. So, this new website, which you could find at target.thredup.com, basically, there are a lot of listings of pre owned clothing, mostly from private label brands associated with Target. And then there's other ones that are more like limited collaborations that were done with Target from other brands. And then also, there are some brands not traditionally associated with Target. Fashion and clothing that are involved in this as well. So obviously, again, part of the reason for this is to get a piece of that market share, keep people on brand, and also, especially for a place like Target and also for a place like Goodwill, to get themselves in front more of the Gen Z and millennial generation, who is very much into supporting these sustainability initiatives. So it is a new and challenging sourcing world out there, folks, particularly in the land of clothing and fashion. All right, now speaking of clothing and fashion, Poshmark continues to be a disaster. I know that there's always going to be individual exceptions to the rule, but I also know that there are a lot of people frustrated with the recent algorithm changes. People I know who have been selling on Poshmark for years and years, doing very well, making very limited sales, and are moving their inventory onto other platforms to diversify. But if you go down here and just take a look here at what has happened to the stock, this does not happen if the company is healthy and performing well. You could see it just keeps going down and down and down and down. And one of the reasons is that their marketing has also been a disaster. So they took an additional $50 million out of their profits this year. And out of that, they only made, for every dollar spent, $1.28 in increased revenue. That's revenue. That's not even the profit. So, that is not good because this company has been around for a very long time. So, if you're doing well on Poshmark, that's great. But just keep in mind that there is a general downward trend. Of course, things could change at any moment and things could go up. But right now, things aren't looking too good. All right, now let's go over to Etsy, and things aren't looking too great over there from a public relations perspective because there have been about 8 zillion stories this week about Etsy sellers going on strike. And I talked about this in a prior story that there are a lot of Etsy sellers who are pissed at the increase in transaction fees from 5 to 6.5%, especially after Etsy had such a profitable year after all of the explosive sales that they made since the pandemic, particularly with masks. Now, this follows, by the way, an increase in transaction fees in 2018 from 3.5% to 5%. So it's definitely bad public perception. It went into effect in terms of this change on April 11th. So what really is going to matter actually is what happens after this, because what Etsy is hoping is going to happen is that this is just going to blow over. The people who were complaining will have their 15 seconds of fame for this week, and then everything will go back to normal. But Etsy sellers are talking about forming a union, which is very interesting. I do think, and I've talked about this for a long time, that resellers do need some type of union or advocacy force in general, not just for Etsy, but just in general. I think that resellers need to have better representation so that they could interact better and more effectively with the third party platform. So I'm interested to see where that goes. There recently was the formation of a union through Amazon, which they have been fighting for years. So we'll see what happens with it. But just wanted to pass on that this happened. Now, it's still the case that there is a minority of people that sell on the platform who signed up to join in on this strike. So we'll see again what happens down the road. All right, so I just mentioned Amazon, and this week they slapped US sellers and resellers in the face with a 5% fuel and inflation surcharge. Now, that's going to be a tough one for resellers to absorb who are dealing with slim profit margins on the platform. And as you know, it could be really, really competitive in terms of how you're pricing things to keep up with the next person who has a product similar to yours on the platform, trying to grab that buy box and everything that's involved with that. So if you have wide profit margins on the platform, it will be easier for you to absorb it and hope that this is going to either go away in the future or significantly get lowered as the economy does improve. Amazon did emphasize that this is subject to change, which indicates that it could be a temporary matter that's going on now. We'll see what happens, and I'll update people as needed. All right, we'll get to the eBay seller update next, but eBay did hit a funny glitch this week. I have to laugh. This one is actually funny to me because this is actually one that actually a glitch that hit them for once. The glitches always hit the sellers. I mean, it kind of hit the sellers too, but who wanted to get involved in this. But sellers who were not taking advantage of promoted ads anymore, like they had used it in the past but weren't using it anymore. So eBay reaches out to them and basically is like begging them to come back and try promoted ads again. And they give like a special offer to try it. And so when people clicked on it to try to activate it, it wouldn't work. So they couldn't connect with the promo for the promoted ads, which I find highly ironic and hilarious. So I'm sure eBay fixed that one pretty fast though. But all right, let's go on to the seller update. All right, so eBay came out with the 2022 spring seller update. Overall, it's kind of a yawner. I'll just basically summarize to you what they told you here. So they're expanding efforts, they say, to reduce unpaid items. Honestly, I don't know what's taking so long, and I really wish that this would roll out faster. There's still too many instances where people are having unpaid items. I do think that this is a very good initiative on the part of eBay. I am 100% behind it, and I just want them to roll this out faster. Too many people dealing with unpaid items. They are updating a way to more accurately update the what they consider a view count on the site. Now, this has been a problem for a long time because bots crawl the pages, and those are not really a human being who are viewing the page, and 40% of the views were estimated to be from bots. So when you were seeing that you had 100 people, for example, view one of your pages, it actually was probably more like 60. So they're updating that to be more accurate, which is, of course, a good thing. The eBay app is going to have a new messaging system on it. I showed you this once before. It looks like basically an interaction on a cell phone. And I actually really like it. I tested it out this week. So you just got to press a little button on the top it's in your messages to use the beta version of this. I love it. I mean, it's about time that they brought this up to a more modern experience. And I think overall, a vast majority of people are going to embrace it. There are going to be more category and classification changes. If you click on it, that will tell you which categories this is going to occur in. So if you are in collectibles and toys, health and beauty, home and garden, and parts and accessories, you definitely want to go look and see how things are going to be changed around. And there are going to be more item specifics that you are going to have to type in. So be aware of that. There's going to be some additional work coming at you if you are listing in those areas. All right, now in the fees and financial section of the update, eBay has announced that they are going to allow you to request a payout whenever you want. You just go to the payments tab and click send my money now. Now, the catch is that the money will not be available instantly. It's going to take 1 to 3 business days, depending on how long it takes your bank to process this. But rather than having to wait on a fixed weekly, bi weekly, monthly payout or daily payout schedule, you could just literally request it whenever you want to. So it's good in the sense that it does give you added flexibility. But I would like there to be an option where you could take that money and you could just transfer it instantly to your PayPal account, for example. That would be nice rather than having to wait on the bank processing time. Now, they are going to allow you to have something called spendable funds. This is something coming soon. I mentioned it in a prior newscast, but that money will be available to you and spendable digitally on eBay. So if you made a sale, let's say you sold something for 50 bucks, very shortly after that, you'll see that 50 bucks available in your spendable funds. And if you want to buy something on eBay, well, then you just use the spendable funds on that. So it's funny how you could get access to the money instantly if you want to spend it on eBay, but if you want it for your own personal use, you have to wait the 1 to 3 business days, which is again why I say allow for us to have the option of an instant PayPal transfer. All right, let's get into our primetime crime series. And this is an absolutely tragic story, and it has resulted in a lawsuit. This goes back to 2020 in Denver. And let me just kind of let you know what happened here because hopefully this prevents someone else, from getting killed or seriously injured. So basically, there was a couple that responded to this ad on Let Go. They were going to try to purchase an SUV, and the couple had relied on Let Go, saying that they had this verified seller program. And so they just assumed, based on that, that this person had been vetted as a seller. And so the person was trustworthy. So they go out, they bring $3,000 to possibly pay for this SUV if things worked out. They get there, and the guy, who, by the way, his real name is Kyrie Brown, and he said his name was James Worthy. So, just as an FYI, if anyone uses the name of a famous basketball player or sports player on an online marketplace, that might be, an indication that the person is not who they claim to be. But, who knows? Maybe the family didn't watch basketball or anything like that. But anyway, they get there. The guy says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have the paperwork with me that I need. Could you follow me to where I actually have the paperwork?" So they were trusting of this person because they were listed as a verified seller on the platform. They go, the guy takes out a gun and tries to rob them, and then the man, the father in the family of five, by the way, tries to wrestle the gun away from him, and both of them wind up getting shot and killed, the mother and the father. And so, it also took 2 weeks to track down who this guy was, because all that was really needed to be listed as a verified seller on Let Go is to supply an email address. You don't even have to have, your real name. You could call yourself James Worthy or LeBron James, or, you know, any name you could put down. It doesn't matter. And also, this person had a criminal record. So, they're really not vetting these people. Don't get fooled if you see anything like that, and make sure you do your due diligence if you do any of these types of meetups at all. All right, now speaking of famous basketball players, particularly famous LA Lakers, there's a guy who opened a thrift store recently to, better serve his community. And one of the things that he loved was Kobe Bryant. And so he had this section in the store where he had all his Kobe Bryant memorabilia. And unfortunately, a bunch of thieves broke into the store and stole his merchandise, up to $8,000 worth of stuff. Let me take you inside the video to show you a bit of what happened.
Last Thursday, two men broke into a store, the first time at around 2:30 in the morning. Alex says they stole some high-end shoes and other items before leaving.
They ripped off about 30 jerseys that we had, some that were autographed.
A few hours later, the burglars came back in daylight and began filling trash bags with everything they could grab. One even wore a pair of basketball shoes that Alex says they stole during the first break-in. But what he misses the most is his Mamba memorabilia.
And if you get to the corner up here is where we had all our Kobe memorabilia.
Alex is a huge Lakers fan, and over the years, he has collected expensive Kobe Bryant jerseys.
That wasn't for sale, that I was just displaying. I'm a huge Kobe fan. I've always been. And that's stuff that I can't replace that I got personally at games.
Alex says the thieves got away with about $8,000 worth of merchandise. It's such a big financial hit, he considered closing his business for good until members of the community heard about the theft and began flooding his store over the weekend.
Just to show their support, just to try to buy random things just to keep us afloat.
Very sad. Another example of retail theft in broad daylight, people taking this stuff, putting it online. So hopefully as they investigate, they catch these people. If I find an update to this story, I'll bring it your way. And speaking of theft, if you did not get your stimulus check this year, it may be because a U.S. postal worker stole it. Well, that's what a 33-year-old postal worker is being accused of. If she is found guilty, she faces up to 5 years in federal prison. All right, now our be on the lookout item this week is the Blue Milk Luke Skywalker Lego minifigure that was only made available as part of the Lego Star Wars Deluxe Edition video game. It is very easy to recognize based on the blue milk container and the blue milk mustache. So look for it now and in the future. The prices are obviously crazy for it now because the game was just released. So there have been some sales for it that have been close to the $200 range. Some have sold for higher than the video game itself. Those are few and far between, though, sales that high. Realistically, at this point, you could get the figure for about $45 out of the bag and about $50, $55 in the bag. But still, be on the lookout for it. I think this will continue to be a desirable one. All right, now this story I am so excited to report because it is a record-breaking comic book sale. It is Superman #1, which has shattered prior records, going for $5 million. That is absolutely incredible. Technically $5.3 million. The 1939 comic book sold by none other than my man, Chuck Rosansky from Mile High Comics. Yes, the Chuckster. For the longtime prime timers, you might remember my epic 9-part documentary series when I went to Mile High Comics and toured it with Chuck. It was amazing. He even was nice enough to sign a birthday wish for me, and Mrs. Primetime got it for me. I've got it up on the wall back there. It's amazing. Always been a big inspiration to me, and I'm just super pumped up by this. If you have not seen my Mile High series, you have got to check it out. Watch all 9 episodes. By the end of it, as I've said this before, there's been a lot of people who told me they were literally in tears because it's a lot more than about comics. It's about business and it's about life. Right now, time for some inspirational stories. And here we go again with FedEx coming to the rescue. There was a FedEx worker who was on his route and he saw a woman crying outside. And the reason why she was crying is because her husband had to be taken to the hospital and she could not ride along with him in the ambulance because of the COVID-19 policies. And so The person felt really bad, called over to the supervisor and said, "Hey, I'd really like to help this woman out. Could I drive her over to the hospital? It's like 30 to 40 minutes off the route." And the supervisor said, "No problem." So that's two good people at the company, not just the worker, but also the supervisor who allowed it to happen. So there's something going on with the culture of FedEx that allows these things to occur, which is great. I'm pumped up about that. And like I always say, if I have some kind of medical emergency, the first thing that I'm going to say is, call FedEx. All right, so this is a really amazing story. Is a woman who runs a thrift store in Ventnor, Florida. And so, as you know, thrift stores get a lot of jewelry donated to them. And she was going through the different pieces of jewelry and she came across this copper bracelet, which had a name and a date on it. Now, the name was Ronald Paschal, and he died in a helicopter crash in Vietnam. So what she did, she didn't want to throw it out. She didn't want to sell it. So she put it on an online veteran site. Now, as it turns out, another member of the platoon always remembered Ronald Paschal. And every year he would do an internet search for him to see if anything came up with his name because he always wanted to try to find more information about him. And so he sees this listing that the thrift store owner put out, and he got in touch with the thrift store owner. They connected, exchanged stories, and they could not find any family members of the person, but the platoon member is holding on to this item in the meantime and wearing it in the veteran's honor. And so, that's just great in and of itself that it's been connected with another platoon member, and he's going to try to, find a family member who could pass it on to. But I just think that's a cool story of the types of things that we could find when going through lots of items that we get either through thrift stores or somewhere else. All right, everyone. Well, that is a wrap. Another episode of Primetime News in the can. I hope you liked all the stories this week. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'll see you at the next one, everyone.